Okay, I seem to be recording now, so that looks promising. So what I have done, there are three things I'll cover. One is that I've been making visible these folders that have within them articles. And as I was saying, just to repeat myself for the purpose of the recording, these have within them different topics that are generally in the area that it says, but there may be some overlap. Okay, so students, I would encourage students, and that's what I'm doing hopefully now in this recording, and I'll follow up with a message on Moodle, to look at these articles. If you haven't chosen an article and this is the approach you want to take to the essay, then you've got a lot in there if you've had trouble looking elsewhere. So all those PDFs are there for you. And you can also use them to engage with in your discussions. So if you want to have different positions that you want to look into for wider reading, I think that may be something to dip into as well. It's certainly there on offer. Okay, so I'm just clicking through so you can see, or hopefully hear, that as you click down the folder, it opens up different articles that some may be familiar from sessions that we've looked at, and some are looking at particularly things on areas that you might be interested in extending your reading on, or maybe using as your main focus for your
I'm not
essay.
sure your screen's not moving at the moment. I'm not sure if you're doing anything or not.
I'm just clicking back and forth on these folders. You can't see me do that?
No.
Ah, okay. So let me just, my screen sharing is paused. That would explain it. Okay.
That would be it.
Okay.
You're better than me. You're better than me. I can't do any of this stuff. So.
Well, I'm just worried that if I resume sharing, it's going to stop recording. So that's the concern I had. But if Emma and Tony, you can't see it anyway, so I'll just see. I'll see if I can share and see what happens to the recording. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it still recording?
Yes,
it would
is,
appear
yes.
So. Can you see the folders now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So all I was doing. Thanks for that, Arif. It's helpful to to know what's going on as well outside of my head and what I can see from your perspective. What I was just doing is clicking open the folders and showing the different files that are in there. And what I'm hoping is that the students will take the time to actually click into the folders and see if there are articles that might be helpful for them for their wider reading, if not for their dedicated article, if that's the chosen route for their assignment. Okay, so that one, I've got some things on mentoring as well. And by all means, if there's anything I've left out, if you want me to add to the folders, or if you want to add to those folders, please do. So there's,
that's a lot of resources, so really great. But just to let the students know as well, if they have readings outside of these, they're more than okay to use them, right? Yeah.
Oh gosh, yes, examples. Absolutely. I'm mindful that one or two students might feel a bit concerned that they're not finding articles and maybe not having access to reading for some reason. And I just thought it would be something. At the moment, we don't have any restrictions with sharing PDFs. In the future, that policy is going to change. But because of circumstances, you know, that restriction has been lifted. So that's why all these PDFs are there. But hopefully that will be a resource that's helpful for students. The other thing that I will do rather, is I think I have actually done already, but let me just scroll down. If I go back, because I'm still sharing and it's still recording, so that's good. So if I scroll down Moodle, and you'll see the different weeks that we've covered or not been able to cover because of events. What I have done is I just revealed everything. So all previous PowerPoints, even one, actually I'll show that one as well. Even one from an alumni, Marissa Ferguson. She has been working as a mentor as well after her degree, and she's doing an MA at the moment currently. So she's someone who can relate to students. She's an alumni, and she's also got experience, and she came in and spoke to students. This was from last year actually, and she was good enough to let me use her slides. So that's there. And then Marie Day is from Regenerate. She would have been one of our guest speakers. There's a PowerPoint slide on mentoring that I put up there. And then what you might see from my perspective is that something is not visible for an essay workshop. And this is what we were previously discussing about essay discussion sheets and templates. And then there was a brainstorm that we did from the autumn, which I uploaded and put in a folder. And then I have a PowerPoint slide on the essay workshop, which was just tips. And that was something that I wanted to adapt, as I was saying earlier, to include or make it more tangible in terms of the task for the assignment for this module. I hope that makes sense. So instead of sort of saying essay question or some of the, some of the things that are here about bringing your work with you, I'll have to adapt that, because in the autumn what students did was bring samples of their work with them, and we worked together, for those who did do that, to look at their work. So I hope that helps. The discussion sheet, which was this, is what I will adapt so that it reads a bit more clearly in terms of the task for the assignment. And then there is the, if I go back to Moodle, can't remember how I did that. Okay, here. I think beyond there at the bottom, I've got some more links. Hopefully students will have seen these already because these have been visible. But if they scroll to the bottom, there'll be lots more to sort of dip into. Oh, and I can, I might make also visible the, I think I have, the other guest speaker we had was Tabitha, who's a doctoral student, and she has a TED talk as well. So I'll make sure that that's visible so that students can have a look. And the idea is, hopefully, that students will use examples of research or cases that they can relate to make their discussion more tangible as you interact and engage with the literature. So it's always good to have examples to sort of highlight points that are being made, or ways in which we can relate to it, especially as the part of your essay that needs to refer to what this implies for practice and pedagogy, I think is important. So those examples can help in that respect as well, to make your arguments, to make the points clear, but to also help to support the discussion and arguments about what this means in terms of education and practice. There's also an audio that was made in the last session that we were with students, and Ilakia kindly taped what I was saying by permission, and I uploaded it onto Moodle. So there's that audio as well. I'm not sure if there are any questions. I've kind of tried to cover as much as possible. Is there anything that you think would be helpful, Arif, at this point?
Just that related obviously to the assignment, I've been getting a lot of emails from students who are a bit confused about the structure and how to structure it and things like that, which is definitely a legitimate question to raise. So I don't know if you had any suggestions. So what I've been saying is to use the lecture slides and see, for example, just from the top of my head, the social class one, for example, the one I gave lecture on. I said, see how I structured that, and you could either use a similar one or adapt that kind of structure, and because these questions, these articles are flexible, there's not a rigid structure that we want you to follow.
No, that's okay. So that's helpful to know. I think the PowerPoint slide that I have is a general one, a generic thing that to help with essay writing. The other thing I would say is that it's important to have an introduction of the topic and give the context to that. And within the context, the audio should be able to supplement that preparation in terms of thinking, why is social class relevant to youth? How do we conceptualize youth? What are the terms given? Terms of reference, what is the implication of that? What are the kind of challenges then that are presented for young people in terms of their identity and in terms of how they may see themselves within society and ways in which they may choose to participate? So we're kind of bringing those segments of identity and participation into the framework of thinking, of responding to the topic area. And then it would be helpful to then say a kind of signpost leading into how the essay will then focus on particular areas of the topic. And if students are using an article, to then explain that the main focus to help the discussion will be using this article. And then that will help them into their next section of introducing the themes and issues that the article raises, how that relates to theory, and then to try to bring in wider reading to extend the discussion and the analysis, because what we're looking for is analysis and less of descriptive accounts of what the article is saying. So students will really need to know their article well, or know the key focus points of the topic well that they want to look at. So, what aspect of social class? Is it about capital and Bourdieu's notions that they want to focus on? That's a way in, perhaps. And if it's, so what I'm trying to say is the area is big and you need to give a kind of backdrop to it, but then make clear to your audience and your reader that these are the areas that you're going to focus on to help engage with the literature, whether that's from the article or whether that's from a particular perspective within the area that you want to discuss. And either way, you need to bring in the wider reading so that you can tease out some of the challenges, ways in which one might see some of the opportunities for young people. What are some of the initiatives? And this is where examples can come in. So students can think about examples that help to address some of these concerns. Where do we see these problem areas in the wider context in society? Is it through media? Is it through what's happening in educational settings or in youth settings like youth clubs and those sorts of spaces that young people gather in, and those learning environments? What do we see in practice? And then what does that mean? And where can we go from there in terms of thinking about the implications and some things that might be helpful to learn from what is happening already, and some of the things that we might want to say, well, the problems exist because there are these gaps, there are these areas that are not developed enough because of the way we look at young people in society, and how we give them or deprive them spaces in which that they can flourish and develop and feel that they are members of society and listened to. So there's all sorts of ways, I think, that I'm hoping that what I'm trying to say helps to build the structure or an approach to the structure. And then in the conclusion, you can sort of, by now, year 3 will be accustomed to this, you know, with good solid conclusions. We want to reiterate the key points, and then in summing up, be able to just highlight those key points that we kind of want to draw the reader's attention to. Maybe raise questions, and you could be raising questions throughout, but maybe reinforcing those questions, or, you know, highlighting those kind of areas that you think need further attention, or would allow for more meaningful engagement in this area to help further sort of create learning spaces for young people and help them to feel, just as I was saying before, you know, valued members of society without this sort of problematization or stigmatization of young people. And that's where I would sort of say that conclusion could end. Bearing in mind we want to talk about subcultures, intersections, what that means, those sorts of things that we've been covering in previous sessions. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, so being really simplistic, I've just been mentioning to the students that there is not one set structure, you know, for example, subheadings. There's not one set of subheadings or structure that we want or, you know, need you guys to follow, because a lot of people are doing lots of different topics, a lot of different articles. So that's why it's really difficult, especially these are the emails I'm getting, that we can't give you a rigid subheading structure to follow. It's to make sure that you try and, you know, get these points of, you know, the theory, how it's related to a wider literature, and that's why we can't give you. That's why I think what I'm trying to get to the students to understand, that your essay is not going to be necessarily the same as someone else's structure essay.
No, it needn't be. I mean, if you've taken the approach of looking at an article to be the sort of, you know, the catalyst, as it were, or the main focus, let's say, of a discussion, then you will design it differently. And at this level, for year 3, the expectation is a little bit more, and the feeling is you've had templates in the past, you know how to structure essays. If you want to give it a side heading, that's okay, as long as you are making clear to your reader and it's signposted clearly. What I think is important is to, you know, you can, if it helps, certainly everyone needs a title, right? So we can work on that starting point. And then if it helps, for those who have articles, you could put introduction, you can put article, you can put key points, you know, you can put concepts of youth as side headings. But if we make it too rigid, I think it would confuse the issue for those who want to look at topic areas and then say, okay, within this topic, I'm going to focus on this element. So in that case, if you want to do a side heading, you would put key focus, you know, but that is something that students should really be doing in the way that they're writing their assignment. So in that introduction, that's what you're telling the audience, is this is what I'm focusing on. And if it's a couple of areas and that you want to put in side headings about those key areas that you want to focus on, then I don't see a problem with side headings if that's the purpose, to help students to structure their thoughts and make it clear for their audience.
Exactly.
Emma, Tony, what do you think? Is there anything that you have that I haven't mentioned or Arif hasn't mentioned that you'd like to ask about? Okay, Tony. So not at the moment. has what we've been saying been helpful?
And obviously these will be recorded, so you can always come back to them.
Yes.
If you need some more time to digest or anything, even while you're working through the assignments, come back to these recordings, come back to Mona's other video, her other notes, so you can always come back to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm going to be on leave between the 2nd and 20th of April inclusive. But after the 20th of April, then if there's anything people, I mean, if there are outlines that students want to share with us as a kind of plan, or if there's a section of a couple of hundred words, 200 to 300 words. So if you've got some, you know, if you've got your first draft, or if you've got a section that you can highlight within your first draft and say, Arif, Mona, could you please have a look at this? Then we can do that as ways of supporting students.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tony says, yes, I think just breaking it down to simpler terms helps. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. Emma says, all sounds good to me. So that's very positive. And thanks for, oh, it says I'm running out of time. I've got 10 minutes.
Right.
See, the pop-up arrived today. Didn't happen last time. Okay.
Yes.
Final
Also,
thoughts. Yeah, go on.
Those who are watching this recording at a later time.
Yes.
The last 2 weeks in April, we haven't decided yet, but Mona and I may have something similar to this, or one-to-one tutorials as well. So the support is always going to be there.
Yeah, I'm trying to, for my other modules, because I've got 2 other modules, I'm trying to do another Zoom session after Easter. And if this is working, if this method of recording is working, then that's all well and good, and it can be uploaded on Moodle. So certainly, yeah, I'm with you on that. If we do another session, we can try to make sure that everyone is feeling confident and happy about their preparations for their assignment submissions.
Yeah, and possibly one-to-ones or.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I don't see a problem with that. I mean, what we can do is on Moodle we can set up a scheduler, and then have one-to-ones. There's a Skype option for me, or this sort of Zoom thing, where I can just have the time available and people can pop in as their time comes up on scheduler, if that makes sense. So the tutorial could be like, this is my office for the day, and you can pop in when your time is on, and so you can sort of drop in.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think that would work actually in terms of one-to-ones as well. Yeah. And you and I can split them up if you like.
Definitely.
Okay. Is that okay for everyone? Okay, excellent. So Tony, I'm glad she says that would be very helpful. So yeah, we're getting there. Yeah. Oh, good. And Emma agrees. So that's perfect. Okay, so are we happy to wrap up for this session for now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good with that, if you're good with that. Thank you so much, Emma and Tony, for dropping in, and thanks, Arif, for your support. And I'll try and upload all of this stuff, and hopefully it'll work. It might just be an audio and not a visual, depending on the size of the file. But either way, I'm hoping it will give some direction.
Brilliant. No, thank you so much, Mona. I think it's been really helpful for the students.
All right. Thank you, Arif. Okay.
Cheers, guys.
Very
take
helpful
care.
To you too. And look after yourselves and take care. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.